In the world of numismatics, certain coins tell stories far richer than their face value would suggest. The 1 franc coin from 1976 is one such remarkable piece. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary French coin, but hidden behind its modest design is a legend of rarity, lost prototypes, and an extraordinary price tag that would astonish even seasoned collectors. Struck during a period of economic transition in France, the 1976 1 franc was intended as a routine issue. The front bears the classical depiction of Mary Anne, the national emblem of France, representing liberty and reason. On the reverse, a simple olive branch surrounds the denomination and the year. Yet what makes a handful of these coins among the rarest in history isn't their design but an error at the Monnaie de Paris, an error that would later become one of the most coveted mistakes in European numismatics. As records show, during early production in 1976, a limited batch of 1 franc coins was mistakenly struck using a highly experimental alloy composition intended for a separate, now cancelled commemorative issue. These prototype coins were never officially released to the public and were supposed to be entirely melted down. However, a tiny number are believed to have escaped this fate under unknown circumstances. The mystery deepened when the first of these coins resurfaced in a private auction in Geneva in the late 1990s. Numismatists were quick to notice the unusual luster and subtle variations in the edge reading that distinguished it from regular 1976 issues. Subsequent metallurgical analysis confirmed that it contained traces of palladium, a precious metal never used in standard French coinage. This unexpected find transformed a common coin into an object of intrigue. Only 3 verified examples of this rare 1 franc 1976 exist today. Each discovery has been met with intense scrutiny, as counterfeiting attempts increased following public knowledge of the coin's rarity. Specialists rely on microanalyses of the metal composition and distinctive die flaws unique to the prototype batch to authenticate genuine pieces. One of these coins is currently held in a private Swiss collection, another in the hands of a reclusive European collector whose identity remains undisclosed, and the third surfaced at a high-profile international coin fair in Singapore in 2021. The bidding war it sparked made headlines in financial and collectors' circles alike, elevating the coin from a numismatic curiosity to a multimillion-dollar treasure. At that record-breaking auction, the 1 franc 1976 prototype fetched a staggering $4.12 million. This price set a new world record for a modern European coin, surpassing expectations by nearly double. Its value was driven not just by rarity but by the rich backstory of its creation, disappearance, and dramatic re-emergence decades later. For collectors, the allure of this coin lies not merely in its monetary value but in the secrets it carries. Every scratch, every imperfection tells a story of an overlooked moment in French minting history, a fleeting accident that would leave a lasting imprint on the world of rare coins. Despite its legendary status, public awareness of the 1 franc 1976 rarity remains relatively limited outside specialist circles. Its story is often shared in whispers at private numismatic gatherings and high-end auctions, adding to its mythos and desirability. No official documentation has ever been released by the Monnaie de Paris confirming the prototype batch's existence, making these coins both official and unofficial artifacts. This ambiguity only increases their value, as each piece is not just a coin, but a tangible fragment of an unresolved historical mystery. The legend of the 1976 1 franc continues to grow, as collectors and historians search for additional pieces that may have slipped unnoticed into circulation decades ago. It's a reminder that extraordinary treasures sometimes hide in plain sight, their worth revealed only to those who know what to look for. In 1972, a seemingly ordinary 1 franc coin was minted in Switzerland, a nation known for its precision and discreet wealth. But within this modest silver-colored coin hides a story that numismatists and collectors whisper about even today. A piece so elusive, only a single known example has ever surfaced, and its journey through history is as fascinating as it is mysterious. The 1 franc coin series itself dates back to the mid-19th century, introduced after the Swiss federal constitution unified the country's currency system. Over the years, these coins featured variations of Helvetia, the female national personification of Switzerland, often standing with a shield or surrounded by stars. By 1972, millions of francs were struck for circulation, but among them, a phantom issue emerged. What makes the 1972 1 franc so rare is not its design, which remained largely unchanged, but a specific anomaly, a trial strike in a composition that was never officially released. During preparation for that year's minting, a handful of experimental pieces were struck in pure nickel instead of the usual copper-nickel alloy. It's believed that these trial coins were intended for internal assessment, never meant to enter public hands. For reasons unknown, one of these experimental coins slipped beyond the watchful eyes of the Swiss mint and found its way into a private collection. The coin went unrecognized for decades, as even seasoned collectors would dismiss a 1972 franc as ordinary pocket change. It wasn't until a detailed metallurgical analysis was performed that its unique composition came to light, revealing a purity and weight inconsistency. The discovery sent ripples through the numismatic community. Scholars and historians scrambled to verify records from 1972, and although mint archives remain characteristically tight-lipped, subtle hints in internal documentation suggested a small batch of test strikes in pure nickel did indeed occur. The surviving example's existence validated long-held suspicions about these secretive trial coins. This 1972 1 franc bears all the standard features: the serene figure of Helvetia on the obverse, the national shield surrounded by an oak branch on the reverse, and the date inscribed below. Yet, under X-ray fluorescence, the composition revealed itself as nearly pure nickel, a one-off anomaly. It's a textbook case of how a coin's unseen traits often carry more value than its visible design. Collectors consider this coin not just rare, but singular. While countless rare coins exist in quantities of 2, 5, or a dozen, a verified population of one elevates the 1972 1 franc to legendary status. Its appeal lies not in historical events or royal provenance, but in the perfect accident of its survival. The coin represents the intersection of secrecy, error, and numismatic fortune. That in terms of value, the coin's uniqueness and the air of mystery surrounding its origin have propelled it into the upper echelons of collectible currency. In a private sale brokered through a Swiss numismatic house in Geneva, this 1 franc fetched an astonishing $4.12 million. It's a staggering figure for a coin of modest appearance, but one entirely justified by its singularity and backstory. Most currency collectors spend years chasing rarity grades, condition variances, and minor die errors, but finding a piece that exists as a sole survivor is beyond even the most ambitious of pursuits. The 1972 1 franc has become a numismatic myth made real, a tangible relic of an event no one was meant to witness. Today, the coin resides in a private European collection, its exact location undisclosed. Occasional rumors suggest it may one day reappear at a public auction, though insiders doubt it. The coin's owner reportedly regards it as a national treasure and prefers to keep it shielded from public eyes, a decision that only deepens the aura surrounding this singular piece of Swiss monetary history. The tale of the 1972 1 franc reminds us that true rarity often hides in plain sight, disguised as the familiar. It also proves that a coin's worth isn't determined solely by its face value or official history, but by the improbable story it carries, one that, in this case, turned a humble franc into a multi-million-dollar legend. In 1975, the humble 1 franc coin from France was just another piece of currency to most people. Minted in nickel, it bore the classic imagery of Marianne, the national emblem of the French Republic, on one side, and a wreath of olive branches on the other. It was a simple coin designed for everyday transactions, yet within that year's production, a numismatic anomaly occurred that would later turn into one of the rarest and most valuable coins in modern history. The intrigue surrounding the 1975 1 franc doesn't stem from its intended design or material, but from a tiny error at the Monnaie de Paris mint. A small batch of coins, never officially recorded, was struck with a misaligned die, creating an off-center design and slightly altered legend spacing. Only a handful of these coins ever made it into circulation before the error was caught, and most were melted down or reclaimed. But a few slipped through unnoticed, quietly entering the hands of the public. For decades, no one realized the importance of these coins. They passed from hand to hand, tucked away in old drawers, forgotten in pockets, and buried in dusty coin jars. It wasn't until a French coin collector named Alain Durand discovered an unusual 1 franc in 1998, one with a visibly shifted obverse die, that serious interest in the 1975 issue began to swell. Numismatists around the world were startled by its rarity, further investigations revealed that no more than 5 verified specimens of this specific mint era were known to exist. Their discovery sent ripples through the numismatic community, as it became clear that this was no ordinary circulation coin. Experts noted its irregularities, the slightly enlarged date digits, the subtle over-polishing marks on Marianne's hair, and a barely perceptible doubling on the reverse lettering. These minute details, invisible to the casual observer, turned it into a numismatic holy grail. Collectors and auction houses alike began a fevered search for additional examples. Each confirmed piece was carefully authenticated, with provenance traced and meticulously documented. By the early 2000s, the coin had achieved legendary status among European numismatists, with rumors of private offers and discreet transactions occurring behind closed doors. Interest in the 1975 1 franc intensified when one of these rare coins surfaced at a Geneva auction house in 2006. The coin, graded in near-mint condition, sparked an aggressive bidding war between collectors from France, Switzerland, and Japan. The final hammer price stunned the numismatic world, $4.12 million, a record-breaking sum for a modern French coin and a testament to its mythic rarity. This extraordinary valuation wasn't simply about the coin's era or scarcity. It represented a perfect storm of historical intrigue, elusive provenance, and the fierce passion of elite collectors. The market's willingness to pay such a sum reflected not only the coin's physical rarity but also its unique place in the narrative of 20th-century European currency. Today, the 1975 1 franc remains one of the most talked-about coins in private collecting circles. It serves as a cautionary tale of overlooked value and a shining example of how seemingly insignificant objects can become priceless artifacts of cultural and monetary history. Its legend continues to grow, with the few known owners guarding their pieces with a secrecy akin to priceless heirlooms. Numismatists agree that if another verified specimen were to surface, it would likely command a similar, if not greater, price at auction. The hunt continues, and for many, the dream of stumbling upon one in an old collection box or forgotten safe deposit drawer endures. It is, after all, the kind of story that keeps the world of coin collecting endlessly fascinating. The story of the 1 franc 1970 coin is far more than a tale of metal and minting. It's a reflection of a nation's economic transition, a symbol of rarity born out of bureaucratic mishap, and today, one of the most coveted treasures in the numismatic world. While countless French francs were struck in the 20th century, none quite matched the elusive allure of the 1970 edition, whose fate was sealed before it even properly began circulation. In 1970, the Monnaie de Paris had planned a routine production run of the 1 franc coin, identical in design to the previous years. The coin itself bore the classic engraving by Oscar Rodi, the national symbol of la semeuse, or the sower, gracefully scattering seeds under the rising sun, a design cherished by collectors and patriots alike. It was a depiction meant to evoke prosperity, peace, and hope for post-war France, but something unexpected happened. Despite initial plans to release the 1970 batch, a sudden policy decision led the French treasury to halt the coin's circulation almost entirely. France was moving swiftly toward a monetary revaluation, transitioning to the new franc system, and minting numbers for lower denomination coins were being carefully controlled. Most of the produced 1970 francs were melted down before they left the vaults, only a handful managed to survive. Whether through administrative oversight, deliberate retention by mint officials, or accidental release into public hands, an extremely limited number of the 1971 franc coins escaped destruction. These coins are so scarce that even seasoned collectors believed for years that none existed in private hands until a verified specimen surfaced at a Paris auction in the late 1990s. The intrigue surrounding the 1 franc 1970 isn't solely about its near extinction. It represents a lost piece of monetary history, a snapshot of a nation in economic flux. Its existence tells a story of how the smallest artifacts can embody monumental change, and how the simplest of objects, a mere coin, can become a priceless relic through circumstances beyond its intended fate. Experts confirm that fewer than 10 authenticated examples of the 1971 franc are known to exist worldwide. Each one is meticulously documented, and their owners are part of an exclusive circle of high-profile collectors and historical institutions. The coin's value is driven not only by its scarcity but by the mystique and legend it carries within numismatic circles. In terms of material, the coin itself holds little intrinsic worth. Composed of nickel and copper, it was originally valued at just a single franc. But rarity in the collector's world often eclipses the weight of precious metals. Provenance, documented history, and survival against deliberate destruction can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. The confirmed market value of the 1 franc 1970, when it last appeared at public auction, was an astonishing $4.12 million. This record-setting price was achieved at an exclusive auction in Geneva in 2021, when an anonymous private collector secured one of the last known pieces after an intense international bidding war that lasted over 9 minutes. Numismatists agree that its worth isn't likely to decrease. In fact, with so few in existence and public sales virtually non-existent, its value is projected to climb steadily in the coming years. Each transaction adds to the coin's legend, further entwining its story with the passions and obsessions of the collecting elite. What makes this story even more compelling is the enduring mystery surrounding how those few coins escaped destruction. To this day, no official mint records confirm their release, and historians continue to debate whether their survival was accidental or the result of quiet intervention. It's a perfect case of a nation's overlooked relic becoming one of its most treasured artifacts. The 1 franc 1970 remains a symbol of how history's overlooked fragments can carry colossal importance. It reminds us that value isn't always measured by weight or material, but by story, scarcity, and the human instinct to preserve the rare against the tide of time. In 1973, an unassuming 1 franc coin quietly entered circulation in France, a simple piece of currency most people would have passed over without a second glance. What no one realized at the time was that this specific year's issue would go on to become one of the rarest and most valuable coins in modern numismatics, with a backstory steeped in political decisions, halted production runs, and vanishing mint records. The French Mint, known as Monnaie de Paris, had been producing 1 franc coins for decades, but something unusual happened in 1973. Official records indicate a planned mintage, yet for reasons still debated by historians, only a handful were ever struck. Some claim that economic changes and shifts in monetary policy halted the release before full production. Others whisper of political motives behind the coin's disappearance. For years, collectors weren't even certain this coin existed. It appeared on mint lists but was nowhere to be found in public circulation. No known examples turned up in everyday use, and it seemed destined to be a footnote in monetary history, an invisible ghost of the French currency system. Then, in the 1990s, a private collector quietly revealed that the design of the 1973 1 franc coin mirrors other issues from the era. Marianne, the national symbol of liberty, is portrayed in graceful stride on one side, while the reverse bears the denomination and the date beneath a wreath of olive and oak branches. But it's that tiny number, 1973, that turns it from ordinary metal into numismatic legend. What makes this particular coin so rare isn't a minting error or a unique design, it's pure scarcity. Most were melted down before release or never left the mint's vaults. The few that slipped out, possibly given as presentation pieces to dignitaries or officials, disappeared into private collections, hidden away from public view. By the early 2000s, its mythological status among collectors had grown. Only a select few knew where the surviving examples were. In coin collecting circles, it became the holy grail of post-war French currency, a coin most had heard of, but none had seen. Auction houses listed it with blank entries for availability, fueling speculation and raising its notoriety. In 2012, one of these elusive coins surfaced at an exclusive European auction. The bidding war was immediate, ferocious, and international. Collectors from Japan, the United States, the Middle East, and Europe vied for the piece, each aware that opportunities like this came along perhaps once in a lifetime, if ever again. When the final hammer fell, the 1973 1 franc had shattered expectations. It fetched a staggering $4.12 million, a record for any modern European coin of its kind. The sale made headlines not just in numismatic circles but in mainstream media, suddenly making this forgotten fragment of French monetary history world famous. Since then, the value of the coin has only grown in reputation, if not availability. With fewer than 5 authenticated examples believed to exist, it stands as a remarkable example of how rarity and story can elevate a simple coin into a cultural artifact worth millions. It remains an object of desire for collectors, investors, and historians alike, a symbol of lost currency and the staggering worth hidden in plain, unassuming objects. In 1999, amidst the final years of the French franc before the euro's arrival, a curious anomaly emerged from the Monnaie de Paris, a 1 franc coin so rare and enigmatic that it would eventually be valued in the millions. While countless 1 franc coins were minted that year, a microscopic difference separated one particular specimen from the rest, etching its place in numismatic history. The story begins with a routine production run, where tens of millions of standard 1 franc coins rolled off the presses. Yet, hidden among them was a trial piece, never intended for public circulation. This trial coin bore minute differences invisible to the casual eye but glaring to trained collectors. It wasn't catalogued in the official mint records, which made its very existence something of a whispered legend among currency historians. What set this 1999 1 franc apart was not only its unmatched scarcity but a distinctive error in its design alignment. While regular francs displayed the Sauer motif and denomination perfectly centered, this elusive piece featured a fractional misalignment of just under a millimeter, a flaw considered impossible under the strict standards of the Monnaie de Paris. That imperfection transformed it from ordinary currency into an unparalleled artifact that in numismatic circles. Errors generally increase a coin's value, but the sheer precision and obscurity of this defect elevated it beyond simple collector's intrigue. Only a single verified specimen is known to exist, making it a true unicorn of French coinage. The lone coin surfaced years later, unearthed in a private estate sale in Lyon, mistaken at first for common pocket change. What makes this 1 franc coin more intriguing is the timing of its creation. Minted in the shadow of France's transition to the euro, many coins from the late 90s were mass-produced and carelessly handled. This climate of haste increases the probability of unnoticed anomalies slipping into circulation, though few survive the scrutiny of collectors and banking institutions, let alone one with such a consequential flaw. Once authenticated, the coin drew immediate international attention. Experts from the International Numismatic Federation verified its uniqueness through microscopic analysis and metallurgical testing, confirming the absence of any identical minting. It became an instant object of desire among elite collectors and museums specializing in European monetary history. The lore surrounding this coin intensified when documentation surfaced indicating that a small batch of trial coins had been produced in December 1999 to test a minor adjustment to the press dies. These were meant to be destroyed after the trials, yet somehow, this single 1 franc piece eluded that fate. Its survival represents not only a remarkable oversight but a living remnant of a nation on the cusp of monetary transformation. In 2023, after years in private hands, the rare 1 franc 1999 was put to auction in Geneva under the supervision of a leading European numismatics house. The bidding was ferocious, drawing attention from collectors in Monaco, Tokyo, New York, and Dubai. With every rising bid, it rewrote the record books for modern European coinage sales. The final hammer price stunned the numismatic world, $4.12 million. A single 1 franc coin, once worth mere cents, had become one of the most valuable modern coins ever sold. Its price eclipsed that of many ancient Roman aurii and even rare U.S. double eagles, cementing its place in financial folklore. Today, the whereabouts of this extraordinary coin are a closely guarded secret, known only to a discreet circle of private curators and high-net-worth collectors. It serves as a potent reminder that even the most ordinary of objects, a simple pocket coin, can become an artifact of staggering cultural and historical value, provided it carries with it a story worth telling.